Welcome everyone. That's not a greeting. Actually, that's our central tenet of our diversity program, because we believe, as you've heard this morning, that everyone should be invited. We want all of the different perspectives that diversity can bring into our organisation, and we believe that we are more effective and more competitive when we embrace all of the talent. And it was this decision and this metric around delivering performance that really got the executive buy-in within our organisation to support our programs. So thank you for being part of this. Had to ask. Why am I here? Well, who am I and what do? I wear many hats. I'm dyslexic, so I use assistive technologies. I'm digitally naturalised. Yeah, I'm not a millennial, but I score highly in terms of millennial behaviour. I'm predisposed to being social, so I'm quite happy standing up here talking to you guys. I'm ENFP, if you know Myers-Briggs. I'm impatient. I like to get stuff done. I'm an initiator of things. Not really necessarily a completer finisher, but I've got people that I work with to help me complete and finish. And I'm evangelistic, so if you've done Facet 5, I'm an advocate. Low on control, high on energy. So professionally, I'm head of accessibility and digital inclusion. So what does that mean? It means that I'm spending a lot of my time working to make stuff work for people whose needs are different. So whether or not you are blind and use a screen reader or a magnifier, or you're dyslexic like me and like to use speech recognition systems, or simply that you want to use your computer in a different way. Also takes into account the aging population, etc. Outside of work, I'm co-founder of the largest Twitter chat in Europe. It's actually in the top 3 globally. So dyslexia means I see things slightly differently. I hope you get a different perspective today. As a dyslexic, I see, most people can't see the wood for the trees, but as a dyslexic, I see forests. The red squiggly line in Word helps me a lot, but in this case, it's spelt correctly. So on to the slightly drier stuff. We have a group program, and of course it's branded, but it's a shared responsibility. So we felt very strongly that HR shouldn't lead this, and HR also agreed with us, which was good. Otherwise we'd have a turf war, but we don't. And it's really important because people from the business are leading the diversity initiatives in all of our countries. Sometimes they're referred to as GBUs because sometimes we cluster them together. And our strapline is that you make the difference, because we believe that individuals can make a difference, and like Stephen said earlier, it takes leadership and it takes individuals to take a leadership stance. People need to step up. There have been lots of diversity initiatives in the various countries for a long time, and we were a large organisation. We've grown through acquisition. We're now 100,000 plus employees in 74 odd countries. So there have been lots of initiatives, but nothing had been centralised. But now we're all working together as part of a group diversity programme. We're strongly convinced that diversity is the key value driver for us. So we launched our group diversity programme in 2014 under an overarching program at Atos which is called Wellbeing at Work, and there are a number of different strands to wellbeing at work. Our other strapline, because we love branding, is diversity to performance, which you might have noticed was in my title. So we address 4 main dimensions. There's 5 in the UK, and for good reason: gender, disability, generations, and cultural diversity, and it's targeted at the further development of diversity within our group under a common framework. Obviously, different countries have slightly different approaches and different cultures, so of course it's the think global, act local that HSBC first taught us about. We have really good sponsorship from the business now, so these guys' names will mean nothing to you, but they're effectively half of the global executive committee of our organisation as our sponsors. So we've got, we're working our way through most of the board and nailing them to our mast. So, got people in all of the countries, and we also have a sort of central function as well. And interestingly, a lot of them are lawyers and not HR people. I think that's partly because Maria, who is our overall leader, is our Deputy Chief Legal Counsel and has co-opted most of her team in, but it does bring a different perspective, and thankfully they're not compliance focused, they're people focused. So, a bit about the Wellbeing at Work programme. These are the other different bits. It was launched by our CEO and chair in 2010. It's trying to transform us because we've grown so rapidly. We've had lots of different cultures to assimilate, not just national cultures but organisational cultures. And it's a ground up, top down, bottom up programme because everybody's involved, and it has a number of strands, including corporate social responsibility and sustainability, which is another area which is a really big focus for us. But diversity is there. So these are the 4 dimensions that are in our global programme. So gender, we're looking to capitalise on men and women. There's a very strong direction given to us by Maria that there was too much of a focus on it just being women, and we wanted the male allies to be involved, and we wanted it to be a two-way discussion because it needs to be everyone involved. But we want to make sure that we do end up with an equal organisation. Equality is really important. The generations, we've now got 5 generations in our workforce. So actually, it's not just about bringing older people into the organisation and keeping them in, and making sure that we reskill people so that they're doing today's jobs with today's skills, but making sure that the generations are mixing. So we're doing things like reverse mentoring and bringing people together through social events and company events to help the generations understand each other. And the reverse mentoring stuff is fantastic because actually what you find is that whilst the younger generations are learning about organisational culture and management skills and so on, the execs who they are reverse mentoring are actually learning all about the digital skills that we're selling to our customers. So culture, again, very diverse organisation, 74 countries. We wanted to focus not just on race, but on culture as well, because we recognise even within our own country there's lots of different cultures. And so that's a very broad spectrum, broad approach again. Disability, we want to ensure that we're a good organisation to work for. If you happen to have a disability, we want to make sure that we look after you if you acquire a disability. And we want to attract more disabled talent. 5th dimension is Atos Pride. We really felt that in the UK that we couldn't be without this. And so we launched our first LGBT network. I always transpose the letters because I'm dyslexic. Real problem for me with acronyms. And it's the first LGBT network in Atos. What we've got is, since we launched, is 250 members. It's growing really rapidly, and people from lots of other countries are coming and saying, why haven't we got this? So that's leadership, and I thank my colleagues for stepping up on this, and I'm proud to say that I'm an ally. And one of the things we've been doing is doing the thing where you take your I Support Atos Pride poster and take pics and selfies around the world, and I was pleased to have one supporting Atos Pride from the Rio Paralympics. We have a lot on social collaboration within our organisation. We were the first organisation to have an ambition to get to 0 email internally. Not quite there, but we set up enterprise social networks and collaboration tools, and so we have a number of diversity-related spaces on our intranet, and people have open conversations. The thing about ESNs is that the conversations are out in the open. And that's really important because, again, we're referring back to leadership. People need to see examples. So the fact that people are having conversations about disability, about gender, about age and culture is really important to our organisation in terms of us fostering that inclusive culture. Because there's no point us all being sat in little rooms and going, hey, great, we're the disability committee, Atos Adapt or whatever, if no one can see us, if no one can hear what we're saying. So the roadmap and the deliverables, obviously, when you get half of your executive board to sign up to a program, they want a roadmap, they want deliverables, they expect you to produce nice PowerPoint slides. So we've done that, and we've set up diversity committees in each country. Typically, that is the leads for all of the different networks in each country, plus stakeholders from HR and other parts of the business. And again, this all relates back into what we're feeding into our global program. We have, as part of our Wellbeing at Work program, a Wellbeing at Work week within the organisation, and we had Diversity Day, I think about 5 weeks ago now, 6 weeks ago. Doesn't seem that long ago. And we were concentrating on two of the dimensions this year. One was age and ability, and the other was disability. And we had terrific engagement. We had thousands of people taking part across all of the different sites around the world, webinars, people getting involved in live activities, trying out things, playing around with assistive technologies, hearing from employees on the autistic spectrum what it means to be autistic, what it's like to be in a working environment when you suffer from issues around stimulation and light sensitivity. We had partners come and talk as well, because we believe that we can learn best practice from people that we're working with. So we had Barclays come and talk to us, we had ING Bank come along. It's not just banking we work with, it seems a little bit like that at the moment, but we also had organisations from places, disability organisations in Argentina coming and talking about how they work with people to enable assistive technologies in the workplace, etc. We challenged our organisation to have a go at computing without a mouse. Now this is really important, because actually IT in your organisation, generally it's the poor cousin of stuff that's the consumer IT, and many times it's not accessible. And most people don't realise this because they use a mouse and they can click on stuff. But if you have a work-related upper limb disorder, or you've got arthritis, or you're a screen reader user, or you use assistive technologies that are voice activated, they all mimic the keyboard. And so if you can't access a program without using a mouse, you're pretty much stymied. You can't access half of the stuff you need to work. So we ran this as an awareness exercise, so that our key members of staff, including our core leaders, so she's our Chief Marketing Officer for the Netherlands, had a go at it. And what she said was that the task made her really frustrated, and she was starting to get stressed. And I was like, then our job is done, because that is what's happening to our employees if we don't make stuff accessible. We also believe greatly in storytelling. So as part of Diversity Day, we got people to talk about their particular disabilities, their particular experiences. So here's an example. Karina is one of our internal comms people. She's a great lady. Took a big leap of faith for her to do this, because she hadn't had the support from her line managers that she really ought to have had. But she still was prepared to come out and talk on the record. So as part of our strand of diversity, we need to address disability. It's a huge market, 1 in 7. It's the biggest minority group, bar none. It is, of course, intersectional, because you can be a woman and have a disability, you can be white male and have a disability, you can be black and have a disability, you can be of any faith. It affects us all. We are temporarily able-bodied. So we've got some core initiatives where we're looking to improve our accessibility, which is great for me and my day job, because it means my team's going to be busy. So we're looking to include accessibility within our overall diversity awareness trainings. We've made some already. We're looking to appoint a dedicated role around accessibility as part of the diversity program as well. And more substantially, we are using a framework to measure ourselves against, and that is actually the Business Disability Forum Accessibility Maturity Model, which helps you measure where you are and where you're going to go to. And it's a really nice framework. And it's great because it's same kind of framework that they use for IT security and everything else. So when you show someone a maturity model that's sat in management, they get it. So our staff networks, Atos Adapt, close to my heart. I've been campaigning for a number of years to get this set up. Again, it's rapidly growing. We realise that we were late to the diversity party in terms of having a structure, but we're there now, and we've rapidly grown our member base. We've actually got more sponsors than a charity swim. Pretty much all of the UK exec wanted to sign up and support Adapt. They felt that it was really important, and they are now coming forward and telling their stories. And I think this is really important, because what you don't see is execs with disabilities talking about their disability, because they really hide it. And when we talk about masking, you think back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. We know that he was in a wheelchair, but if you'd looked at any of the pictures or the media, you would have never have seen that, because he was always seated at a desk. So the fact that people are coming forward is a really important part of us fostering that inclusive culture. We will have ADAPT networks in every GBU, geographical business unit, very, very soon. We're rolling them out. We're most of the way there. Why did we choose ADAPT? Well, ADAPT we felt was a good dual term, because as people with disabilities, we adapt to find new ways to do stuff. We are innovative in the way that we approach problems, because we have to be problem solvers. Otherwise, we wouldn't get on. We also feel that the network is helping the company adapt to new ways of working. So that's the duality in the name. And I can't claim that I chose it, because it was made up by the lady in the middle there, Sarah, who is our lead. Jane is our SVP of HR and has been a fantastic sponsor, and she is wearing some of my implements of torture. These are actually reduced mobility simulation gloves. I've been getting the exec to wander around our head office wearing these, partly so that they have some empathy with how it is to have reduced mobility and the difficulty it is to operate some of our kit and parts of our buildings, but partly because, again, it's a visible symbol that they care about inclusion. So, of course, allies are really important. We have Atos Pride, our LGBT network. Now, that's fantastic. It's run by LGBT individuals, but it's equally important that everyone feel welcome. So we're taking an integration approach rather than just an inclusion approach. We want everyone to be able to be part of these networks and support them.
Just a couple of minutes now.
Aspire is our gender network, which I think I've talked about before. Together Network is our cultural network. And Aon is our intergenerational network, where we're trying to bring all of the generations together. This has been the hardest one for us, actually. I have to admit that getting the generations talking to each other is actually harder than getting people to talk across international boundaries. So what other things are we doing? So outside of work, I set up this thing called Access Chat, because we wanted to address the wider community. It's a bit of fun, but it's got a bit massive. It's a simple concept, 30-minute video interview with people on access and inclusion, 60-minute structured Q&A on Twitter. It's open to everyone. There's a website there. It's the busiest Twitter chat in Europe. It's a top 3 global Twitter chat now. And it's extremely viral and overwhelmingly positive. We've had over, our hashtags trickled out there, 1.3 billion times since we started. And as a result, we got invited to Rio to tweet on behalf of the IPC at the Paralympics and stuff. We also run Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Not our invention, but we invite our customers and our colleagues to come and talk about accessibility. Ran our first event a couple of years ago, did a really bigger one last year. We're planning to do it across 8 different countries simultaneously in 2017. I may have a nervous breakdown. Lots of people attended, great number of speakers. 29 different organisations had things like accessible payments. So if you're blind and you happen to use a chip and PIN card and you want to try and use that, you have to rely on trust. So imagine having to give someone your credit card and your PIN number and then trust them to put in your PIN number to any unspecified amount. Well, that's what it's like if you're blind and you have a credit card and you want to pay in most places. So we've created an accessible chip and PIN machine, which we're doing a proof of concept on. Also, I do collaborate with the BBC. I mentor a young lady who's on the autistic spectrum, who's running their neurodiversity project. This is actually fantastically freaky. It will make you feel sick. It's a virtual reality headset that you put on, and it puts you inside a BBC meeting room inside Salford with all of the overstimulation that you would get if you're autistic. So amplified sound, carpets start moving, colours start jagging, the voices. It's how someone on the autistic spectrum would experience life inside one of their buildings. And that's it.
Very good. That was brilliant.